one.
Richard here has just asked me to sit down, have a cup of tea, and repeat what I've just told him, which was my experiences during the earthquake in Christchurch. I popped into town on the bus. I decided not to take the car because of parking, because since the earthquake in September, parking in the centre of Christchurch has been sheer hell. Well, I picked up some photographs and I went into Ballantyne's at the last minute, just before my bus was due, and to get 2 birthday cards, one for my husband and one for a friend. And I chose them, managed to get a couple of nice cards, and I was just about to go up and pay for them when all hell let loose. It was horrendous. I mean, the noise, and then the sound of all the shattering glass around us. I was quite near the glass department, but the windows blew in as well. There was glass everywhere, and sheer pandemonium and panic, because people didn't know what to do. I mean, there were people screaming. There was one poor Chinese lady. She got under a table, but we kept having these jolts afterwards. The first one was bad enough. I mean, I'd been through the one on the 4th of September, and that was bad. But that woke us up in the middle of the night, and that was just like a train coming underneath you, and you thought, oh my God, what is this? What is it? Oh, it's an earthquake. Of course, that's what it is. Anyway, that was bad enough, but this was sheer hell, because we didn't know which way to go, which way to run. Were we going to have the roof collapse on us? Which door do we go out? Everybody was panicking, lots of people in the shop. And some people said, this way, this way. Now, the shortest way to get out of that shop was to go down into Cashel Mall. But I said, no, everyone says you mustn't go outside. And this was what they told us in the last earthquake. Don't go out into the streets. So I was standing there sort of shaking, you know, and this young lady came up to me and she clutched me and she said, do you need help? I said, yes, please. So she grabbed me and she said, right, we'll stick together. She actually got me a seat and I sat on it because they didn't want us to go. There were people then, shop assistants, who didn't want us to get out of the shop. But eventually they said, right, you can go. Because there was bits of the roof falling off onto cars in the road. And if we'd gone out there, we could have been hit by lumps of concrete. Anyway, they said, right, you can go out, single file. We came through a sea of glass and made our way very gently out there into the road. Well, of course, the road was chaos because, again, people were coming from all directions, and we eventually congregated about, more than 100 of us in Litchfield Street, where Litchfield Street goes straight across Colombo. And we then didn't know which way to go. Now, the young lady who'd been looking after me said, I'm going down this way. And that poor lady had come to Christchurch for a conference for a day from Wellington. And her colleagues were down the road towards the cathedral. I said, but you don't want to go down towards the cathedral. I don't think that's a good idea. She said, I'm going because my friends are there. And she went off, but not before she handed me over to another lovely lady, young ladies, I may say, and said, will you look after this lady for me? And she said, yes. And she took hold of me, and we walked we walked in a stream of people like refugees, like I've only seen in the movies. And we were silent, we weren't talking, we were just terrified because there were bits of buildings falling and the noise and the dust was just awful. But we knew we just had to keep going and get out of it. And she had a car parked in an open-air car park. So she took me, literally, and we got to the car park and we got into her car, but there was gridlock. There was no way we were going to get out to begin with. So we sat in the car. And magic, because I've been trying to phone any of my family, of course, no hope at all. I've never learnt to text, and I'll tell you something I'm going to learn now, because people were texting and that seemed to be getting through. However, James, who lives here, out at Akuti Valley, which is pure heaven, he managed to get in touch on my mobile. And with texting around, he had found out that my poor husband, because I was desperate to get home to him, because he has all sorts of things wrong with him, including a dodgy heart. And I was just determined I was getting back to him. Well, the young lady in her car wanted to go see her parents, of course, immediately. She said, I'm going down Moorhouse, the main road. I said, well, I'm going to get out because I shall walk home now, if I can, through the gridlock, because I can see the hill where I live, up Huntsbury, and I can walk there. And she said, are you sure? I said, yeah. I got out of her car. I walked through the traffic, which was moving, taking so long, to the crossroads there, Moorhouse Crossroads, and there was a van driver, and I banged on his door and said, are you going across the bridge? And he said, yes. I said, can I come? Yes. I hopped in, and he took me, bless him, all the way up to the bottom of the hill, where there are steps up, where I live, Huntsbury Hill. And I ran up those steps because I just couldn't wait to get home. And my heart was pounding like mad. And I thought, now stop it, slow down, Helen. You don't want to have a heart attack. That won't do your husband any good. So I slowed down and I took it much more gently. I passed my son's house, saw all the glass was out of those, but I wasn't going to stop there. I was heading for home. A neighbour said, oh, your little dog's been running up and down the hill and he won't let any of us catch him. I said, oh my God. Anyway, I got up. Of course, our garden wall had fallen down and the dog had managed to get out because there was nothing to retain him, you see. And I walked through that wall and I walked into the house, and there was my husband, and he was okay. And we just clutched each other and said, thank God. And I mean, all his lovely antiques that came from his family, his beautiful antique carriage clock that he loved, all sorts of things were bust and in pieces, but he just said, we're here. It's a miracle. And that was it. And I think I've said just about enough.